Let's have a player season recap and put Jeremy Sochan in the spotlight.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kansas 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you all back. Hope you're having a great work day. And yeah, it's just a short work week, right? So quick in and out work week. We'll get to do it right here on Locked On Spurs. As always, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kansas 5 Plus, at YouTube. You know where to go. Subscribe wherever you can. You guys are the everydayers. Keep on coming here to Locked On Spurs every single day. What are we talking about today? We're going to do a player season recap and look back at Jeremy Sochan's 2024-25 season. The good, the bad, the ripple effect it has on the team. What does he need to improve upon headed into next season? All that and more, including some Spurs news, and it's revolving around Chris Paul. Yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, Sochan, I get it. He's kind of a lightning rod with Spurs fans. Some say, trade him. He's no good. Some say, no, you need him. He's, vital to the defense and everything. Yeah, it's a mixed bag with Sochan. But in my opinion, I think there's a lot more good than bad. But we're going to get to some of the numbers and so much more. Let's go to bring in our guest. He is back, everybody. My colleague at Kansas 5 TV, Vinnie Vinzetta. He is on X, at Vinzetta. You want to follow him ASAP. Vinny, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
Always good to be back. Good to see you.
Of course, you get the inevitable task of talking about Sochan because he's such a lightning rod with Spurs fans, isn't he? I mean, seriously. I mean, it was like camp, team, pro Sochan and anti-Sochan.
I think you're right. It's like a 50-50 crowd. Some love, some don't. I mean, is he going to shoot an occasional three that looks really bad? Yeah, he is. But he's also going to knock some down. But yeah, mixed bag, I think, is kind of a fair assessment by you. But I think there's more good. I agree with you. There's more good in the bag than there is bad. So, yeah, I look forward to Jeremy Sochan next season.
All right. Well, let's look back at his season last year and then took a look forward. But we'll start off with the good. All right, let's talk about what he did well last season. So right off the bat, Vinny, I want to go over some of the numbers. So 11.4 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 2.4 assists in over 54 games with the Spurs last season. And you mentioned that outside shooting. Technically, Vinny, he shot a career high 54% from the field last season. All in all, if you're getting that production out of him, I think that's pretty good. That's exactly what you want out of Sochan. Your thoughts?
I think he's been pretty darn steady, to be honest with you. I mean, I like the points per game. Look, he's not being asked to score 30. The average is sneaking up on 12 points per game. Big fan of that. Rebounding numbers close to 7. Like that a lot. Mm-hmm. And I just like, he's sneaky good in my opinion. There's some craftiness there. And he can do some things around the basket, and he can find people. He can finish himself. I just think that he's got those intangibles and that you love, and he's also got a little bit of that bully factor. I might be off base with this, but I've always felt like he wants to embrace kind of that enforcer role. Like if you need a guy to push people around and send a message, like he's going to be the guy that's okay. I think we've already probably seen some dust-ups with Sochan and some opponents in his time in San Antonio. So I like the fact that he kind of embraces that role.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mitch Johnson summed him up quite well, like nailed it on the head last season when he called him, he's not a forward, he's not a power forward, not a center, he's just a basketball player. And I think when you look at Sochan from those lenses, then you realize his importance to the Spurs. Look, there's positionless basketball, and the Spurs are fully embracing that. You can't get more positionless than Jeremy Sochan, can you, Vinny?
It's kind of like a utility baseball player. They can kind of go anywhere and do everything, and I think he fits that mold. Like he's a guy that look. The point guard thing, no, that was
forget it. Yeah,
that was a fail, and he talked about how uncomfortable he was with that in the past, and that's just not something that anybody wants to see again. And that's not going to happen again because, the roster is much better assembled now. Mm-hmm. But he can do all those things. He can do stuff. And, you use the word tweener. Well, I actually like what you said there, what Mitch Johnson said. He's just a basketball player. Ask him to go do something. He's going to go do it for you.
Yeah. Defensively, that's where he shines the most. 6'8". He has a 7-foot wingspan. I think we forget about just how long he is. What makes him a defensive menace for the Spurs. He has good lateral quickness. He has good defensive instincts. I think he has about a steal per game last season. He's really hitting those deflections a lot. You mentioned the dog in him and being able to get down and dirty if need be. I think that's also good because sometimes the Spurs, I think the little nastiness, they need some of that, and that's what Sochan provides. From guards to wings to big men, that is the defensive versatility that he brings, and that shined tremendously last season with the Spurs. Talk about his high energy and hustle. I think that gets underrated a lot because he's diving for loose balls. He's setting good screens. He does a lot of good things that don't go noticed on the box score.
I think that probably Keldon gets a lot of accolades there because of he screams every time he's got an and one.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do agree with you on that. Sochan is kind of a water bug type player. He's everywhere. He hustles all over the basketball court. Remember during the heyday of Spurs playoff runs, Coach Pop would always say about his best defenders on the opponent's best player, you just try to make him work. You just try to make it as hard on that player as possible. And I think you're right. Sochan is a guy that does that. He frustrates, he harasses, and that's really his gold, I think, in the end conversation, where his money is made is being disruptive on the defensive end.
Exactly. And, we highlighted earlier the assist. I want to go back and repeat that again for you and everybody else listening right now or watching. 2.4 assists. As much as perhaps that whole point guard experiment just failed badly, there was a little bit of a byproduct of that, is that he was able to get a little bit better as far as a facilitator. That's creating finding the open shots for his teammates. Just being a facilitator, I think that works good. It just really highlights that court vision that perhaps he did develop when he was a point guard, Vinny.
And I would suggest this too. And by the way, that's down an assist from the previous season. So let's see him build that back up as an assist guy. But I would too say that offensively, because of the options that we're seeing grow and build and some of the star power, obviously, that they have now and will continue to build, he's an offensive player that I think can get lost on any possession. And defenders on the opposing team kind of may forget about, may not think about, because you have De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama and Devin Vassell and others. So I think he's a guy that can slip kind of behind the defender and maybe find some opportunities at the rim and just different areas around the court.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at exactly the defensive versatility that he provides. That can help Victor Wembanyama. Wemby feels like playing that 4 spot and hit those threes, much to the chagrin of Spurs fans. So it can be kind of a Band-Aid at the 5 spot and release some of that pressure for Wemby in the 5 spot as well. So don't show some other numbers too. While you're here, Vinny, we forget that he's still young. He's still very, very young.
He's only 22.
Yeah. He's only 22. So, his ceiling is still pretty high. Considering, where the Spurs are at in their development, his own personal development, and of course the rebuild. But I think for me, what shined the most last year is, the stats were good. They were very good. They were solid, right? But it's just all those X factors that he brings. That defensive versatility, the 5 spot, as I mentioned, he can play the 4. He can guard the best, perimeter player on the opposing team. Maybe that's going to, kind of alleviate moving forward with Stephon Castle. But he's really shown that he can do that and just be a pest. Remember when Luka Doncic was a Maverick and how many times Phil just frustrated him? So there's that and more. So you bring that all together. He fits well in the current Spurs rebuild, doesn't he, Vinny?
I'm hopeful. I want him around. He needs to be around as this rebuild continues, and they're much closer than they were last season and the season before that. But he's talked about how he understands that role of being a disruptor and being a harasser on the defensive end. And he loves embracing that role. That's the vibe I get, that he enjoys that part of his game. So, yes, I mean, he needs to be in the fold, needs to be a part of the mix, and I think he's not met his full potential yet. Like learning the NBA ways and how to function in the NBA game. So I think we're only going to see him get better and better.
Absolutely. Well, you had it. Some few stats, the X factors, those intangibles that he brings that don't show up in the box score. But like all young players, there are room for improvement. So where didn't Sochan shine the most last season? We're going to talk about that coming up next. We're here on Locked On Spurs with Vinnie Vinzetta of Kens 5 TV. You want to follow him on X at VVinzetta. You want to do that right now. But first, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action than with FanDuel. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. You got player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to win big and pretty much play smart. Look, they got it all on the FanDuel app. Easy to use, so user-friendly. You get that app right now. You can see which players are having the biggest moments, maybe some of the trends to build your next bet. They got it all there. You can even win, again, that $200 in bonus bets to have the excitement of your first $5 bet. They got it all over at FanDuel. Don't forget that same game parlay. You can back up any bet with that same game parlay. New to FanDuel? Not a problem. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head on to FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Vinnie Vinzetta. He is with Kens 5 TV. He is my colleague over there. Make sure to follow him on X at VVinzetta. You want to do that right now. So why is Vinnie here? We're talking about Jeremy Sochan. We're putting him under that spotlight right now and see how he did last year and then moving forward. Now, we highlighted a lot of the good he did. There was a lot. But there are still bad, unless we cannot ignore the big elephant in the room, and that is his outside shot. That is still a work in progress, isn't it, Vinny?
You know what? But give me more one-handed free throws.
Oh, absolutely.
I've fallen in total love with those, and he has those down to a science. Yeah, I remember when the great Sean Elliott used to always have fun with Joakim Noah from the Chicago Bulls and say he was always shooting a globe up there at the rim from the outside. I'm not saying Jeremy Sochan is that, but if there's one area you would like to see that field goal number improve, there's no doubt about that. He can hit the three, yes, but we can also see completely, if we're being honest, he misses the rim at times shooting from out there. So I would assume that's a big off-season area of emphasis for him.
Sure. I get it. Now, there are signs that it's getting better. At least his outside shot, not necessarily his three shot, but his outside shot is getting better, as we highlighted in the first segment there, hovering around 54% from the field. But that three-point shot, as Vinny mentioned, yikes. Last season, he took about 1.7 three-point attempts, about 2. He only connected about 30% of them. So huge issue with him moving forward. Why is it so important? Because in today's modern NBA, you need bigs to hit those threes. You need them to create some floor spacing, especially for Victor Wembanyama. That needs to get better. And also, too, Vinny, it's just limiting him. And you want to see him take the next step, that has to be it. Vinny, I'm at the point where just give me a little pop shot, just something. I mean, I'm not asking him to be Steph Curry, or I'm not asking him to be Vinnie Vinzetta on the playgrounds of San Antonio and knocking down threes, as I hear you do, Vinny. I just need him to just give me some sort of middle range shot, a put shot, something, because I think any little bit that he can do is just going to drastically improve his game. Your thoughts?
They don't need him to shoot threes. Like,
interesting.
I'm not sure they even need him to shoot the 1.7 that you mentioned. Like, establish a little bit of a mid-range, find some work in the paint, which is where he can do his best damage. Because, look, everybody wants to be in the moment and shoot a big three, but they have so many three-point options or players that can shoot threes better and then have that ability. Why even kind of worry about setting yourself out there? I see your point about stretching the game and big shooting threes, but I think they have enough people to do that let's see him get in there and find some better high percentage offensive looks. I think that's a fair point, and he has the ability to do that. There's no question.
There's no question at all. By the way, I think I need to update my pictures of Sochan, man. What is it? He about 10 years old right there on that picture there, Vinny? I think it is.
Well,
See some photos here.
That's about the most standard hair color he's ever had. So
right, exactly. But I'll get an aside though. There are other areas of Sochan's game that needs to improve, and I'm going to bring up another right now. I'll get your thoughts on it right here, and that is foul trouble. He averages about last season about 2.5 fouls per game. Look, he's an excellent defender. There's no doubt about that. But his aggressive style tends to get him sometimes in foul trouble. I think if he can just learn some discipline when he comes to guarding, he'll be a more effective player defensively, especially, and maybe for a longer period of the game. Doesn't have to be pulled out because of foul issues. I think that is something that he can improve upon right there. Just basically maximizing the defensive impact for a longer period of time on the court. Like, I get it, all players are going to foul. They're going to foul out. That's just part of the game. But if you can help reduce those fouls per game, I think that will do well for him too. But, here's something interesting too. When it comes to scoring, I'm going to go back to that for a minute here. Scoring in traffic, something I want to bring up. Yes, he hit about 54% shots last year's career high. Thumbs up, Sochan, keep it going. But finishing through contact, I think that's something he needs to get better at. He's a strong kid, but he can stand to get a little stronger, I believe, moving forward. But am I asking too much if he could develop some sort of post moves? Would you like to see him develop that moving forward?
Yeah, because I think right now when I see him do damage at the rim, it's kind of it's in transition. It's as a cutter to the basket. So maybe let's see him be able to catch on the block and then go to work and do a little bit more. So I don't think that's a big ask, and I think he would love to develop that portion into his game. I mean, it would only make him that much more dangerous with the offensive players they already have.
All right, Vinny. Well, we've been highlighting some of the things that he needs to improve upon and some things we saw on the negative side last season, a few of those. Now, kind of ask the bigger question. Do you see him as a long-term piece to the Spurs rebuild and even without the rebuild? Because you hear whispers and rumblings, Kevin Durant and Giannis and, Milwaukee's going to want a haul and they're going to try to get everything they can from the Spurs. Is Sochan still a tradable piece, even if he gets better?
Yes. Okay. And if you do land one of those big free agent summer players, then I think absolutely he probably is a guy that's involved in a package that goes elsewhere. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the reality of the situation because he has value. He can help somebody else. But if they don't decide to do that, and that's typically, as we know, not been the Spurs way, I like how he fits in here. I do.
Yeah, unfortunately, as they say, Vinny, it takes you got to spend money to make money. And
those are facts. Those are facts.
And if at the Spurs, look, as much as it would sting to see a guy like Sochan leave, just using it for example, because he's just the topic of today's show, but you're gonna net yourself a guy like Giannis. I mean, good Lord, I mean, you gotta consider that. You can't ignore that. And I think everybody would quickly kind of exhale and say, okay, we're going to be okay. We got Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're going to be okay. Hey, when those W's start racking up because of the Wemby and Giannis together, I mean, yeah, you'll be like, Jeremy, who? Huh? What? Yeah, I think a lot of Spurs fans to be that way. So, yeah, as much as Sochan improved last year, and he did, the numbers proved it. The tangibles showed it. There are areas of improvement for him moving forward. Hopefully he'll do that. Working on that right now. This offseason, he has been. You've seen videotape of him working in the gym right now. Yes, I get it, everybody. It's not NBA defenses around him, so he's going to make his shots. But still, he's working to improve his game. Hopefully, it'll help next season with the Spurs, which could shape it up to be a very, very exciting and much improved season. He is Vinnie Vinzetta. He's my colleague at Ken's 5 San Antonio. Follow him on X at VVinzetta. Hey, we're done. We're talking about Sochan, but we've got to hear from you. What do you think about Vinny? I'm sorry, about Jeremy. Good, bad, likes, dislikes, cons, get him out of here, keep him? We got to know. So leave a comment at the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. We'll read it in a future episode of Locked On Spurs. But coming up next, we got some Spurs news. Looks like a veteran may not be back in San Antonio. All that and more right here on Locked On Spurs. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by the big dog himself, the Vin dog, I should say, Vinnie Vinzetta. Follow him on X at Vinzetta, my colleague at Ken's 5 TV. Vinny, let's catch up with some Spurs news. And I think the big one coming out right now is multiple reports are saying that Chris Paul will more than likely not return to San Antonio. Teams will be next on his, NBA career. Looks like it may be Dallas. Could be another team out there needing a point guard. But Vinny, if that's true, nobody should be surprised, right? That Chris Paul would be done in San Antonio, right?
No, there's no room. There's no room in the room.
There's no,
I mean, you got Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox, and help me out. Who else am I forgetting? I mean, they're guard heavy. They're about to likely draft Dylan Harper. So there's just not a place for him here, and I think everybody understands that. And why did he come here? Did he come here at his age to win a championship? I don't think so. He came here to mentor, and he wanted to be around Pop. And as he said many times when he was introduced last summer, whenever it was, he said, "I just want to hoop. I just love playing ball." And so it was a fresh opportunity for him to be here, to the point god, as they say, and he was able to become number 2 all time behind the great John Stockton while wearing the silver and black. And it's been great to have him here, but again, at his age and the minutes, there's just not a place for him. He kind of is the lost man on the the guard roster right now. So this should be the not surprising news of the day, week, however we want to say it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, a 40-year-old point guard, the Spurs, as you mentioned, Vinny, they're going to have a logjam if all reports are correct and the Spurs do pick Harper at number 2. Yeah, I mean, there's no space for him, and he doesn't fit that timeline with the Spurs right now. He just doesn't. Chris Paul, I mean. But, Spurs fans should still have a smile on their face because for at least one season, they had a Hall of Fame point guard helping out Steph Castle, helping out just not Castle, but everybody else. It wasn't just Castle that, was a benefactor of Chris Paul's IQ. It was all of them, every single one of them. And I still pinched, but there were some times I pinched myself because when we were allowed to go to the locker room, I'm like, oh my God, I'm standing next to Chris freaking Paul. And I'm talking to him. I'm talking to him about his potato chip brand, what's going on here, and it's just so pretty cool to see that the Spurs, at least for a season, had a Hall of Fame guy in their uniform, in their colors. So it's good to see. But again, nobody should be surprised at all. I mean, this was likely the way it was gonna wind up, and unfortunately, there's just no space on the roster. But hey, speaking of Dylan Harper, what do you think about that, Vinny? It looks like all signs are pointing to that the Spurs will get him out of Rutgers. A good pick. What do you think about it? Trade out that number 2 pick? Where do you stand on that number 2 pick?
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people about that. Do you? And they've asked me do you use that asset and others to package for a Giannis or something? I don't. I'm torn. I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, look, there was a Victor Wembanyama as a number 1 pick. There's going to be a Cooper Flag. Those are generational type fellas. So I mean, Harper's not, he's not one of those guys, but he's pretty darn good, very, very talented. So I think it's a great pick. I mean, it's what's that term they use? Best available. Yeah, if he's going to be there at number 2, you take him. I do like the pick. I think they like the pick. But again, I'll take a nap or I'll wake up one morning and I'll say, hey, do something crazy, put a package together and bring Giannis or somebody else in here. But then I say, no, keep building as you've said to me and reminded me. Mitch Johnson has said many times, we're not going to skip steps.
Yeah.
Now you could say on one hand, well, maybe that step is packaging for a Giannis. Yeah. But maybe the logical step, though, is to keep on drafting, to do what Sam Presti and others have done, and what Brian Wright has done, and to go ahead and pick Harper and keep building this thing the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm torn too. There's some like you mentioned, like my God, if you can bring a Giannis, a generational player like that, to add to another generational player in Wemby, what are you doing, Spurs fans? I mean, Spurs do it. You pull the trigger, But look, at the end of the day, if they don't, and Harper's a Spur, oh no, not that. Not another, number 2 top pick coming to San Antonio, not that. So and then you hear with the comps, he's compared to Cade Cunningham at times. And I just hate for the Spurs to be that team. That team years from now, they go back and look at the draft and be like, wait a minute, they passed on Harper? They passed on Harper? What were they thinking? I would hate for the Spurs to be that team moving forward, but no, you bring him in, you best available, you sort it out. They'll sort it out. It's positionless basketball. They'll figure it out. So it's a good headache for the Spurs to have. And think about this too, Vinny. Let's just say Harper does become a Spur and he's coming off the bench, in his rookie season. I mean, my goodness, talk about a potent, lethal 3-guard combo that is, huh, Vinny?
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, the prospects are scary. I mean, he's a sure thing. He is a sure thing. You knock on wood and hope he stays healthy. But yeah, he looks to be a sure thing. So I mean, as you mentioned, there can always be NBA revisionist history. There's always going to be in every professional sports draft. But this kid looks like he'll be something special in the NBA, and give him time to develop and buy into their program and learn their program, learn their way. I guess if you had to ask me to lean one way or the other, like do a package and ship them out of here and land a Giannis, I'm still going to say no. I think Harper's the pick at number 2. In the end, I think that's the move.
Exciting times ahead for your San Antonio Spurs, everybody. Yeah, I mean, it's all win, no matter how you see it. One thing is for sure, I will never pass on Vinny on my draft board. Like if you're still there at the number 3 pick, I'm taking you, Vinny.
It's a safe pick.
I can't. I know San Antonio, Vinnie Vinzetta. All right, yeah, I love it. I love the sound of that. Once again, he is Vinnie Vinzetta. He is my colleague at Ken's 5 TV. What you got cooking, Vinny, for some fans? Just not just Spurs fans, but just San Antonio.
That's a big week. UTSA baseball was invited to play in the NCAA tournament. There'll be a 2 seed in the Austin, Texas regional. I know it was a Tuesday night special earlier in the year, which was not. It doesn't qualify as a weekend series, but they did actually win at Dish Falk Field and upset Texas early in the season. So if they can somehow get by K-State Friday, and we assume that Texas beats Houston Christian, then we'd have a prime time Saturday night match up there at the Dish between the Roadrunners and Longhorns. So got a funny feeling that that's going to work out, and that'll be our matchup in the winner's bracket Saturday night. So, or whatever time it is on Saturday. So we look forward to that. So yeah, just a lot on Roadrunner baseball this week. I did post a really what I think is a beautiful story. April 30th marked 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War. Well, Monday, as we know, was Memorial Day. We sat down and talked to several veterans from within Edgewood ISD, which is where Memorial and Kennedy High School and the now closed Edgewood High School was. The Edgewood School District, Edgewood ISD, lost 55 boys during the Vietnam War. That is second most in the country. I think there was an ISD in Philadelphia that had a few more, but 55 boys that volunteered and enlisted did not return home from service to the country. So it was kind of remembering, as they called them, the Edgewood Memorial 55. And that story's posted on my V Vinzetta Twitter page, X page now. So it's a really good watch. Get a chance to check that out. Remembering all the boys that paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms.
I got to check that out. Yeah, I'll definitely be looking at that as soon as we're done here. But that sounds like a great story. By the way, I'm also thankful you're not giving me the business about wearing a Dallas Cowboys cap, because Dallas Cowboys.
I noticed that, but I'm going to let you off the hook this time.
You want to know why I'm wearing it? I'll show you why. All right. And
okay.
A lot of Spurs fans are asking me, like, what happened? Why'd you change your hat? Because I need a new Spurs cap. This one is busted up, man. Yeah. That is a piece of history. That is well worn. That has some wear and tear. You know what? You should frame that up and save that for eternal history. That's pretty nice. Well, yeah, this is like the next cleanest hat I had. And look, I'm like, well, San Antonio is still Cowboys country, so whatever.
It is.
So I'll just roll with it. But there, as they say, there's always next year for the Cowboys. So I can just get ahead of. I can just get ahead of them right now. Just say, all right, there's always next year. So
They've been saying that a lot the last quarter century. Ooh.
definitely, yes. All right. Once again, he is Vinnie Vinzetta, my colleague at Ken's 5 San Antonio. He's on the TV side of things. You want to follow him on X at @bvinzetta. You want to do that right now. Check out that story for the Edgewood kids that he was just talking about. Good story there. And everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. If you're in the middle where we get a podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube, you know where to go. Go subscribe right now. You guys are the everydayers. Keep on coming here to Locked On Spurs every single day for all things silver and black. We'll be back tomorrow talking more Spurs as the offseason continues. It's going to be a fun one, though, because you get the draft, you got Summer League, player workouts. There's so much going to be going on when you're San Antonio Spurs. But we got to hear Locked On Spurs. Hey, for your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barno reacts to every workout, interview, rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find it now, Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So for Vinnie Vinzetta, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.